What's good, people? So today I wanted to have a chat with you in relation to how France won the Six Nations and how I think they managed it. So please, before I continue, like and subscribe, as it really does help my channel grow. And I just want to be providing you guys with the best content possible. So without further ado, let's break it down. Six Nations, just like absolute monsters. They destroyed and they put Wales to the sword. Now, yes, it is Wales, and yes, they did end up winning 43-0, but brilliant way to start off the Six Nations. You couldn't have it any other way, right? But this was a Wales side that has been declining. They had lost, 13, 14 games on the trot, and things were just getting worse and worse and worse and worse under Gatland. So France's just structure, their ability to play out the ball, Dupont was just on form. Nothing could touch him at this moment in time. Nothing could touch him, right? But they were still, they were still getting into the groove of things, because not long after that, they ended up playing England and they lost 26-25, where we saw the likes of Antoine Dupont, BLBRA, Jalibert, just everybody dropping the ball. It literally looked like they were playing with a ball of soap, right? And I swear, if they were in prison, they would have been screwed, sometimes quite literally. But there was nothing that France could do, that they just weren't able to keep hold of that ball. There were clear-sighted moments where France were had route to the try line, but they just couldn't keep hold of the ball. And ultimately, England played very well. They put a lot of pressure on France. They made them like really, really pay in relation to a lot of things. We saw brilliant performances from Tommy Freeman, from Ollie Slytom as well, to really put pressure on those wings in the likes of Damien Penaud, who was just trying his absolute hardest just to get a try. I don't think the guy could have tried any harder to get another try, just so he can break that record of 38 tries. And BLBRA, same thing. They were just bringing them into traffic. They were not allowing them to make their runs. You saw a lot of BLBRA trying to run his grubber kicks to sprint after it, but England were resilient and they really, really put up a very good fight. So on the day, England came out on top 26-25, and that really, really put a dent into a lot of people's hopes for France, because that now put doubts in them and gave a lot of hope to England, which ultimately England had an absolutely spectacular Six Nations as well, finishing second. So they are an amazingly improved side, which I don't think many people truly expected to see that. But yeah, France really had a big hiccup. They weren't able to do much, and yeah, it kind of lowered the sails in in France's boat, and that really brought them down, slowing things down. The media, were very critical, very harsh on them, and a lot needed to be changed. So obviously Galtier, being Galtier, he made immediate changes, axing people left, right, and center. Literally, like there was no tomorrow. So then comes Italy. Now this again, I feel this was that point where France just said, "Screw all of you. This is our time. This is our time." We saw them come on with a 7-1 split as well, and they ended up finishing the game 73-24. There was not a ball that France touched that was just not excellence. We truly saw real excellence from them in every single aspect, from the forwards to the backs. We saw beautiful performances by Atisogbe, Barassi, Bielbiare, Leo Barre, who got two coming in, who got two coming into the um, into that 15 spot, because obviously Jalibert was dropped for this game, which was just like, it came out of nowhere, because you saw Thomas Ramos coming in at 10, and then obviously we had Leo Barre come in at 15, and just the bloody performance that he put in was absolutely outstanding. And we also saw Guillard and Flament come in, and they just ended up solidifying their positions there. Giard playing so well. He's keeping a monster like Mearfout on the bench. But then again, when you're running that 7-1 split, it's hard. It is very, very hard to have everyone that you want on that bench when you're running a 7-1, you know. But at this point, I think Mearfout, he did come through. He did come down with a he did come down with a, I think it was a throat infection, but ultimately, yeah, took his chance that he got, and he kept Mearfout out of that squad. So, yeah, absolutely, absolutely stunning performance, really putting it in everyone's faces to say, look, this is who we are, this is what we're doing. And we saw the pressure that really started building, especially in that second half, right? When that second half started coming, we started to see that pressure. We started to see those fresh faces come on and really start putting teams to, to the test. And it then came down to a thing of it is a battle of attrition. Who's going to last longer? And when France bring in these subs, how are you going to outlast them? Right. And this is something that leads on into my next game, where France ended up beating Ireland 43-27, which was the ultimate tipping point. This was the game that changed the entire Six Nations. Ireland were on track to be Grand Slam winners. They were on track to absolutely run away with the Six Nations. But France had other ideas. France had other ideas, and they showed exactly why. And yes, so we saw the likes of BLBRA coming in with 2 tries, Boudahan, Jagu, Penot, just putting in such work rate and really, really putting them to the test. Because at the game was relatively close early on, but it was that second half when that French bomb squad came on that really, really made the difference. That really started putting that pressure to Ireland and started to make them sweat. Right? They really, really started to make them sweat and made them make mistakes. And even with this, we saw Dupont get injured on the 28th minute, and that has now set him out for 6 to 8 months. And everybody was thinking, "Oh my God, what's going to happen? How are they going to do this?" But superhero bloody Clark Kent, Maxime Lucu, he comes on. He absolutely bosses the game, shuts everyone down, plays his tempo game, works it just like an absolute, like, it's like they weren't even missing Antoine Dupont. And this really, really does go to show just how much France are becoming less reliant on Dupont constantly, right? Because at one point, it was very much Dupont here, Dupont there, right? If anybody goes out, Dupont, he does not get taken off that pitch unless he is injured. And I think this will kind of show Galtier, look, there are players in the back that can do the position just as good. And instead of moving in general, like if you would see, like, for instance, Intermac got his red, normally they would move Dupont down to 10, or sorry, up to 10. But when you look at the players that they have available to them, sometimes there's no need to be able to do that, because you do have players on the sidelines that are ready to come in, right? And it might actually do Dupont a little bit of good to actually have him sit out every now and again. But obviously, Dupont, being the person that he is, having the mentality that elite mentality, he's going to want to play non-stop. And so be it. That's how he should be, because he is an elite level player. But Maxime Lucu did a phenomenal job. And yes, there was a lot of back and forth um, about how Ireland are dirty. Yes, there was a lot of controversy in relation to how Dupont ended up getting injured. I do believe that is all settled, and it is what it is. But unfortunately, France are not going to be without Dupont for at least the next 6 months, which is horrible. But France still came out with an absolute stellar performance, beating them 42-27. And this is the second, well, back then, it was the second best team in the world. Because of this loss, New Zealand ended up taking their spot as number 2, and this, I think, dropped France to a 0.21 difference between France and Ireland in terms of the world rankings, which is very, very minimal. So we could definitely see France nick themselves into that second, third spot by the end of the year if results go their way, especially considering they will be playing the Springboks, they will be playing the All Blacks as well. So it's going to be interesting to see how things play out. But then we come down to the final game, the decider. Everybody has their hopes. People are very much going up against France because they don't want to see France win. They want to see Scotland win. They want to see everything go how it's supposed to go, and, well, not how it's supposed to go, and have Scotland come through with an amazing win and potentially have England come through as Six Nation champions. That didn't happen. And France literally, again, showed the same thing. The first half was so tight. It was heavily contested. Finn Russell was playing his bloody socks off. He tried everything physically possible. He's trying his quick play. He was trying his different varied passes, kicks. France were just too strong, right? Tom Jordan, Hugh Jones. They tried their best. Blair Kinghorn, again, with bloody amazing performances, but ultimately it came down to the second half, and it came down to a battle of attrition. Who can outlast who? And unfortunately for Scotland, France bring on their forward packs, and what could they honestly do then? Because then we just started to see France's um, France's forwards just breaking that gain line time and time again, just gaining and gaining and gaining, and they literally were powerless at points to resist the maul, to resist the ruck. They were literally beaten down by the end of the game, and we saw Duhan van der Merwe really trying his giving it everything to get anything out of the game. But France were just there. They were strong. They were consistent. They were so well drilled, and they just outlasted Scotland and put them to the sword. They really, really put them to the sword. And then we just started to see points start flowing in, and then we started to see records being broken. Thomas Ramos becoming the highest points player in French rugby. We saw France overtake England, I think, for the most tries scored within a single Six Nations tournament as well. And yeah, there were just like elite performances on show. And then you had players like Giard, who is so young. He's got so much to give. You have Mofana, who just performed his bloody socks off, and he was at points untouchable. At points, he was literally untouchable. He was too strong, too fast, and no matter what they did, they just couldn't touch Mofana. So yeah, France ultimately, from the criticism, from the hope, from the belief as well, they had a nation behind them. They had 23 men walk onto that pitch as warriors, and they literally left as heroes. And the thing that really got me at the end was when you saw the pictures of Antoine Dupont, how he was there, how he was so angry and frustrated that he wasn't there on the pitch, and you could see him sulking and how depressed he was, just to hear that they played it for him. They got the win because of him, and again, it's a big shame that he wasn't there on the pitch to be able to lift that trophy and, really be there as one of them because he was out with injury. But this shows how much Dupont means to the French. He is not just a person, he is not just a player, he is an idol, he is a legend. He is, you know, he is that man above the rest that, people look up to. People will die for him. He is their general, he is their commander. And not many teams have a player like that at their helm. to be able to lead them to greatness. And this is exactly what Dupont is doing. People are going to hate Dupont. They can say whatever the hell they want about him. But he was by far one of the best performers throughout the entire Six Nations until he got injured. And he was part of every single move. There wasn't a moment where he was phased, and at points he played like he was untouchable. So ultimately, I have to say thanks to Dupont, because he's the guy that brings in some of the best rugby you're going to see. We've seen him surrounded by, was it 4, 5 Englishmen literally surrounding him. He does not get phased, plays a simple ball over the top, and next thing you know, those 5 players are now out of position, they're out of play, and that allows France to just start working, right? That is the meaning of genius. That is the meaning of, he cannot be phased. He is just too calm, too collected, and the guy is just amazing. So we saw the brilliant tactical work of Galtier. We saw his ability to be ruthless and drop players like Jalibert, players like Damien Penaud because of horrible performances, and then you have players like Atisogbe come in and just absolutely put in the work. We saw Thomas Ramos come at 10 when Jalibert was dropped, put in absolute work, and then we see Leo Barret coming in at 15, banging himself two tries. France have an average age of, I think it's anywhere between like 25 and 27 years old, which is absolutely mental considering how good they are. And then to have an average like that, whereas South Africa, for instance, the Springboks have an average age of 30 years old. So a lot of the players are in their 30s. They come into the back end of their careers where they might have 3, 4, 5 years left. Whereas France, they still have at least 10, 12 years left on the clock before they call it quits. So that's that's a lot of time to build an absolute monster of a squad. So France fully deserved to win the Six Nations. And I was so happy when I saw that final whistle go, and you saw how they reacted. They deserve it. And as a group of players, as a bunch of players that feel like they had underachieved for so long because they hadn't won enough trophies, this one meant a lot. It really, really meant a lot. So guys, that's my breakdown and my little review of France and the journey that they took to win the Six Nations, which I fully believe that they deserved more than anybody else considering these performances. You look at the points difference between them and number 2, it is daylight away. So guys, please like and subscribe, as it really does help my channel grow. And I'll catch you guys in the next one. Bye.